So hey guys, welcome once again on our channel Anthropological Masters. So here we are with chapter number 4, human variation and adaptation. And as I told you in my previous video, how you do watch my videos, just you have to see video each and every second without any music, and just 2 to 3 times do my video, and after that wherever you find that that's a good case study, a good example, you can note it down. That's it, and you don't have to read it to yourself. You don't have to give it much time, because for this you can just use for your case studies and for examples only. Let's start without wasting time. So here it is. In any given human population, individuals may be external features such as skin color or height, and in internal forces such as blood type or susceptibility in a disease. If you measure the frequencies of such features in different populations, and you will typically find differences on average from one population to another. So for example, some populations are typically darker in skin color than population. Why do these people differences exist? They may be largely the product of differences in genes. They may be largely due to the growing of a particular environment, physical and cultural, and they are perhaps a result of an interaction between environmental factors and genes. We turn first to process that may singly and jointly produce the just environment, producing varying frequencies of physical traits in different human populations. Then we discuss specific differences in external and internal characteristics, how they might be explained. Finally, we close with a critical examination of racial classification and whether it helps or hinders the study of human variations. So here it is: process in human variation and adaptation. Mutations. Mutation is a change in the structure of a gene, are the ultimate source of all genetic variations, because different genes make for greater or lesser chances for survival and of production. Natural selection results in more favorable genes becoming more frequent in a population over time. We call this process adaptation. Adaptations are the genetic changes that gives their carriers a better chance to survive and reproduce than individuals without the genetic change who live in the same environment. It is the environment, of course, that favors the reproductive success of some traits rather than others. How adaptive a gene or trait is dependent on a specific environment, and what is adaptive in one environment that may not be adaptive in another. For example, dark colored moths might have an advantage over light colored moths. Where trees were darkened by the pollution, predators could not easily see the darker moths against the dark trees, and these moths might soon outnumber the larger variety. Indeed, this is precisely that what happened in certain areas of Europe and the United States of America, are these countries became industrialized and industrial population increased. Similarly, human populations live in a great variety of industrial environments, and so we would expect natural selection to favor different genes and traits in those different environments. As we shall see, that variations in skin color and body build are among these many features that may be at least partly explainable by how natural selection works in different environments. Adaptations through natural selection does not account for variation in frequencies of natural traits, or that traits do not confer for any advantage or disadvantage on their careers. The sometimes different and sometimes similar frequencies of neutral traits in human population may result then from genetic difference to gene flow. Genetic drift refers to the variation of a population that appears because of random process such as isolation, the founder effect, mating patterns, and the random segregation of chromosomes during the meiosis. Gene flow involves the exchange of genes between populations. Neither genetic drift nor gene flow is an adaptive process. Genetic drift may be increased by the differences between populations. Gene flow tends to work in the opposite direction. It tends to decrease differences between the population. Asymmetization. Natural selection may favor certain genes because of certain physical environmental conditions, as in the case of moths in England, but the physical environmental can sometimes produce variations even in the absence of genetic change. As we shall see, climate may influence the way that human body grows and develops, and therefore some kind of human variations may be explainable largely as a function of environment variation. We call this process asymmetization that involves physiological adjustments to environment conditions in individuals, and acclimatizations may have underlying genetic factors, but they are not themselves genetic. Individuals develop them during their lifetime rather than being born with them. Many acclimatizations are simple physiological changes in the body that appear and disappear as the environment changes. For example, when we are chilled, our bodies attempt to create heat by making our muscles work. A physiological response to the environment that we experience are shivering. Longer exposure to cold weather leads our bodies to increase our metabolic rates so that we can generate a more internal heat. Both these physiological changes are asymmetization. One short-term shivering and one 1. Long-term increased metabolic rate. As we discussed later in this chapter, some long-term systematization are difficult to distinguish from adaptation because they become established as a normal operating processes, and they persist even after the individual moves into an environment. That is, some systematization are closely related to genetic adaptations. For example, tanning and acclimatization among light-skinned people when exposed to high levels of solar radiation is likely in people where light skin color is adapted to environments with typically low solar radiation. Influence of cultural environment. Not only are humans influenced by the environment through adaptation and acclimatization, but humans can also dramatically affect their environments. Culture allows humans to modify their environments, and such modifications may lessen the likelihood of the genetic adaptation and physiological acclimatization. For example, the effects of cold may be modified by the cultural traits of living in houses, harnessing energy to create heat, and clothing the body to insulate it. In these cultural ways, we alter our micro environments. Iron deficiency may be overcome by the cultural trait of cooking of iron post. If a physical environment lacks certain nutrients, people may get them to cultural trait of trading for them, and trading for salt being common in the world history. Culture can also influence the direction of natural selection, as we can see that with the culture of dairying seems to have increased the frequency of genes that allows adults digest milk. Here you guys can see there's an example of we're talking about example case study. You can use it or you can take an example of by colding or shivering. This is a complete case study. You can use it anywhere in any answer which is respective for this answer. Where this example is case study is appropriate. Okay, now continue. That in addition, individual cultures sometimes practice behaviors that lead to physical variation between the members and between members of one culture and another. For example, elites in many highland Indian societies and practiced a heat binding. The heads of allied children were tightly bound together with cloth. As the children grew, the binding force of the skull to take on an elongated, almost conical shape, and this cultural practice then created physical variation among individuals that were intended to identify members of allied groups. Many cultures have practices that they are intended to create physical variation that distinguish members of their culture from members to other cultures. The Hebrew Bible, for example, tells the story of how Abraham was instructed by the God to circumcise himself and all his male descendants as a sign of a covenant between them. Thus, male descendants of Abraham had traditionally shared a culturally introduced physical variation to identify themselves as a group. In the next section, we shall discuss some aspects of human physical variation, which we explained then involves one or more processes that just described. Physical variation in human population. The most noticeable physical variation among population are those that are external or on the surface, and body build, facial features, skin colors, and height. No less important are these variations such as internal, such as variation in susceptibility to different diseases, differences in ability to produce certain enzymes. We begin our survey with some physical features that appear to be strongly linked to the variation in climate, particularly variation in temperature, sunlight, and altitude. Body build and facial construction. Scientists have suggested that the body of many birds and mammals may vary according to the temperature of the environment which they live. Bergman and Allen, two 19th century naturalists, suggested from general rules for animals, but researchers did not begin to examine whether these rules applied to human population until the 1950s. Bergman's rules describe that what seems to be general relationship between body and size and temperature. The slenderer population of a species inhabit the warmer parts of a geographical range, and the more robust populations inhabited in the cooler areas. The D.F. Roberts studies of variation in mean body weight of human population in regions with widely differing temperatures have provided support for Bergman's rule. Roberts discovered that the lowest body weights were found among the residents of areas with the highest mean annual temperatures and vice versa. So the relationship between the body weight of males and average annual temperature of 4 different geographical populations, although the slope of relationship is slightly different from the each group. The trend in the same with colder temperatures, weight is greater. Looking at the general trend across population, that we see that where the mean annual temperatures across freezing at 0 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and average weight of male is about 143.865 kilograms, where the mean annual temperature are about 25 degrees Celsius, and men weight on average about 50 kgs. So Allen's rule refers to another kind of variation in body build among birds and mammals. Protruding body parts are relatively shorter in cooler areas or species range than in the warmer cases. Researchers thus comparing human populations tends to support Allen's rule. And then
The rationale behind these theories that the long-limbed and lean-bodied, often found in the equatorial regions, provides more surface area in relation to body mass and thus facilitates the dissipation of the body heat. In contrast, the chunkier and the short-limbed body shape found among residents of cold regions promotes retention to body heat, and because the amount of surface are relative to body mass is lessened, and the build of the inkwit, that is Eskimo, appears to amplify Bergmann's and Allen's rule, and the relatively larger bodies and short legs of the unit may be adapted to cold temperatures in which they live. Now you can write here this example. Also note down that cold temperature and body weight temperature, what is the relation between them. This is also you can as a case study as an example also in your answers. Now just make it, just note down this also case study. It is not continue. It is not clear differences built among the population that due slowly to natural selection for different genes under different conditions of cold or heat. Some of the variations may be acclimatization induced during the lifespan of individuals. Alphonse Rosenfeld provided experimental evidence that extreme cold can affect body proportions during growth and development. Rats raised under conditions of extreme cold generally showed changes that resemble characteristics of humans in cold environments. These cold-related changes included shortening of the long bones consistent with Allen's rules. Now, like body build, facial structure may also be affected by environment. Rosenfeld found experimentally that facial width of the rats increased the cold temperatures and the nasal openings grew smaller. Because of the rats raised in the cold environment were genetically similar to those raised in the warmer environments, we can confidently conclude that environment, not genes, brought about these changes in the rats. How much the environment directly affects the variation in human face is not clear. We do know that the variation in climate is associated with the facial variations. For example, people living in the humid tropics tend to have broad, short, flat noses, and where the people living in the climates with low humidity, with cold or hot temperatures, tend to have long, thin noses. A narrow nose may be a more efficient humidifier or drier air than a broad nose. Skin color. Human populations obviously differ in average skin color. Many people consider skin color as the most important indicator of race and sometimes treat others differently solely on the basis. But anthropologists, in addition to being critical or prejudiced, also note that skin color is not a good indicator of ancestry. For example, dark skin is commonly found in sub-Saharan Africa. However, natives of southern India have skin as dark or darker than that of many Africans. Yet these peoples are not closely related to the Africans, either genetically or historically. How can we explain the wide range of skin colors among the peoples of the world? The colors of a person's skin depends on both the amount of dark pigment or melanin in the skin and the amount of blood in the small blood vessels of the skin. In spite of fact that there is still much to understand about the genetics of skin color, we can explain much of the variations. The genetics of the skin color we can we can explain much of the variation. The amount of melanin in the skin seems to be related to the climate in which a person lives. Glogger's rules state that the population of birds and mammals living in the warmer climates have more melanin and therefore darken skin fur or feathers than do populations of the same species living in the cooler areas. On the whole, this associated with the climate holds true for the people as well for other mammals and birds. Now you can write down also this one more example that colors melanin from the temperature of the climate. Now continue that populations of darker skinned humans to live mostly in the warm climates, particularly sunny climates. Dark pigmentation seem to have at least one specific advantage in sunny climates. Melanin protects the sensitive inner layers of skin from the sun's damaging ultraviolet rays. Therefore, dark skin color living the sunny rays are safer from the sunburn and skin cancers that are light skinned people. Dark skin may also confer about other important biological advantages in tropical environments, such as greater resistance to tropical diseases. What then might be advantage of light colored skin? Fortunately, there must be some benefits of some environments, otherwise all human population would tend to have relatively dark skin. Although light-skinned people are most susceptible to sunburn and skin cancers, the ultraviolet radiation that light skin absorbs facilitates the body's production of vitamin D. Vitamin D helps the body to incorporate calcium and thus it necessary to proper growth and maintenance of bones. Too much vitamin D, however, can use illness, and thus the light-colored skin of people in temperature and latitude maximizes the ultraviolet penetration, perhaps ensuring production of support amounts of vitamin D for good health. Whereas the darker skin of people in tropical latitudes minimizes the ultraviolet penetration, perhaps preventing the illness was too much vitamin D. Light skin may also confer another advantage in cold environment. It is less likely to be damaged by the frostbite. So now you can just write one more example of vitamin D, relation vitamin D and from the ultraviolet rays. We now have direct evidence that confirms that connection between solar radiation and skin pigmentation, and for this we have done so much examples. Anthropologists Nina Jablonski and George Chaplin used data from NASA satellites to determine the average amount of ultraviolet radiation people were exposed in different parts of the world. They compared to these average radiation amounts to data on skin reflectance that found that dark skin is more prevalent where ultraviolet radiation is more intense. Interestingly, that there seems to be one notable exception, that Native Americans tend to be lighter skinned than expected, and Jablonski and Chaplin suggest that this is because their recent migrates to the New World and their skin colors have not adapted to varying levels of ultraviolet radiation they encountered in Americans, just as the skin colors of European colonizers have not. Now, here it is adaptation of high altitude. Oxygen constitutes 21% of the air breathed in the sea level. At high altitudes, the percentage of oxygen in the air is the same. But because of the barometric pressure is lower, we take in the less oxygen with each breath. We breathe more rapidly, our hearts beat faster, and all activity is more difficult. The net effects of discomfort and the condition known as hypoxia or oxygen deficiency is if high altitude presents such difficulties of many human beings, how is it populations numbering in the millions can live out of their lives healthy and productive in altitudes of 6,000, 12,000, or even 17,000 feet? Population in the Himalayas and Andes have adapted to their environments and do not display the symptoms that low altitude dwellers suffer when they are exposed to high altitudes. So moreover, the high altitude dwellers have come to terms physiologically with extreme cold, deficient nutrition, strong winds, rough countryside, and intense solar radiations. Early studies of Indian high altitude dwellers found that they differ from certain physical base from low altitude dwellers compared with low altitude dwellers. High altitude Indians had larger chest and greater lung capacity, as well as more surface area in the capillaries of the lungs, which were believed to facilitate the transfer of oxygen to maximize their ability to take oxygen to the lower barometric pressure to high altitude environment. Recent research, however, that have cast at some doubt of the conclusion that it appears now that population living at the high altitude do not show the Indian pattern to physical differences. In the Himalayas, for example, low altitude dwellers and the high altitude dwellers do not differ in chest size or lung size, even though both groups show adequate lung functioning. The current now one more example here, it is lung functioning of current and with high altitude. This current research does not suggest in high altitude living requires biological adaptations that are purely genetic. In fact, some evidence suggests that humans who would grow up in a high altitude environment may adapt to hypoxia during their lifetime as they mature. For example, Peruvians who were born at the sea level but they grow up at the high altitudes develop at the same amount of lung capacity as people who spent their entire lives at the high altitudes. Consistent with the presumed environmental effect, the children of a high altitude Peruvians who grew up in the lowlands do not develop larger chest. What appeared to earlier researchers to be a genetic adaptation among highland Indian population appears in fact asymmetrization that develops early in childhood, persists over the lifetime of an individual, as with other traits have been studied. It appears that life experiencing that have profound efforts with the body grows height. Now, height studies in the identical twins and the comparisons of the height of parents' children suggest that the heredity plays a considerable role in determining height. So genetic differences must have at least partly explained difference between the population in average base height. But if average height can increase dramatically in a few decades, as in Japan between 1950 and 1980 and many other countries in recent times, then environmental influences are also likely to be important. The considerable variation in average height among them human populations may be partly explained by the differential differences. The Dutch in Europe are among the tallest population in the world on average, and the Mbuti on the Zaire in Central Africa, that populations of the are among the shortest. We already know that weight is related to the mean annual temperature, Boltzmann rule, and weight is also related to the height. Taller people are likely to be heavier, and Boltzmann rule and weight and the Dutch live is a cooler climate. Some of the people of variation in the height world would appear to involve adaptation to heat and cold. Other factors besides heat and cold must also be operating. However, because tall and short peoples can be found in most areas of the world, many researchers think that poor nutrition disease led to reduced height and weight. In many parts of the world, children in higher social classes are taller on the average than children in lower social classes, and this difference is more marked in the economically poorest countries, where the wealth and the health differences between the classes are particularly large. During times of war and poor nutrition, children's stature that often decreases. For example, in Germany during World War II, the stature of the children 7 to 17 years of age declined as compared to previous time. And despite the fact that stature had generally increased over time. Many more persuasive and evidence of the effects of poor nutrition and disease comes out of longitudinal studies in the same altitude over time. For example, Leonardo Martel found the children in the Guatemala who had frequent bouts of the diarrhea were of the average over an inch of shorter age at 7 children without frequent diarrhea. Although the malnourished or diseased children that can catch up their growth, follow-up research on the Guatemalan children suggests that if stunting occurs before 3 years of age, the stature of the age of 18 still is reduced. A controversial set of studies link as very different environmental factor to variation in height in human population. The factor issues in stress, physical and emotional, the infancy, that contrary to the view that kind of interest is harmful. It appears that some perceivably stressful experiences in infancy are associated with the greater height and weight. Experimental studies with rats provided the original stimulus of the studies investigating the possible effect of stress on height, and the experiment shows that the rats were physically handled by the experiments grew up to the longer and heavier than rats not pet. Researchers originally thought that this was because the petted rats had received the tender loving care, but someone noticed that the petted rats seemed terrified. They urinated and defecated when petted by humans, which suggests that petting might have been stressful. It turned out that subsequent studies even more obviously that stressful have been experiences as electric shock, vibration, temperature experiences. Extremes are the produced rats with longer skeletons as compared with the unstressed rats. Thomas Launder and the John Whiting thought that stress is a human infants might similarly produce a greater adult height. Many cultures have customs of creating infants that could be physically stressful, including circumcision, branding of skin with sharp objects, perceiving the nose, ears, or lips in the insertion of ornaments, molding, and the stretching head of limbs for consent purposes and vaccinations. In addition, Shulamith and Gunter and John Whiting suggested that separating the baby from its mother right after the birth is another kind of stress. In a cross-cultural comparison, Whiting and his colleagues, it seems that both physical stress and mother-infant separation, if practical before 2 years of age, predict greater adult height. Males are on average 2 inches taller in such societies. And it is important to stress have been discussed short duration, often a time occurrence, and do not constitute prolonged stress or abuse, which can opposite effects. Because of cross-cultural evidence in association and not experimental, it is possible that results due to some factor co-founded in the infant stresses. Perhaps societies with infant stress have better nutrition or climate and that have favor tallness. They recently using new cross-cultural comparison, Bob attempted to assess the different possible predictions of the height variation between the populations and the predictions that compared with the nutrition, climate, geographically, physical stress, and mother-infant separation. Gray and Bob analysis indicated that which of these factors predicted adult height independent to the others. It turned out that geographic regions and the climatic zones customs of infant stress well and significant and independent predictors of height. So results now available clearly show the effect of the infant stress cannot be discounted, and persuasive evidence for the hypothesis who comes of experimental studies conducted by Kenya. Launder and Whiting arranged for a randomly selected sample of a children to be vaccinated before they are 2 years old. Other children were vaccinated soon after they are 2. As few later, the two groups were compared the respect of height consistent with cross-cultural evidence, the possible effect of stress on height. The children vaccinated before the age of 2 were significantly taller than children vaccinated later. So the children vaccinated before the age of 2 were selected randomly for early vaccination. So it is unlikely to that nutrition or other differences between two or groups account to differentiation in height. As we noted earlier, that people have been taller in several areas of the world, and what accounts for recent trend towards greater height. Several factors may be involved. That some researchers think that it may be result for improved nutrition, a lower incidence of infectious diseases, but it might be infant stress that increase as a result of giving birth in hospitals that usually separate bodies from mothers and also subjects newborns to medical tests, including take blood. Various kind of vaccinations also have become more common in infancy. In short, differences in human size seems to be a result of both adaptations and acclimatizations, with both of these in turn affected the cultural factors such as nutrition and excess stress, susceptibility and of to infectious diseases. A certain population seems to have developed inherited resistance to a particular infectious diseases, that is population repeatedly decimated by certain diseases in the past, now with a high frequency of genetic characteristics that ameliorate effects of these diseases. As Arno Motsky pointed out that if these are genes that protect people from dying when they are infected one of the diseases then prevalent in this area, these genes will tend to become more common in succeeding generations. A field study of infectious disease is not much important about your syllabus. I have to read this complete case study once again, repeating. Suspectable disease never comes in the syllabus. Now here it is very important. Skin cell anemia. Another biological adaptation abnormality of red blood cells is sickle cell anemia. Sorry, I read this skill. It is sickle cell anemia or sicklemia. This is a condition in which normal disc-shaped red blood cells assume a crescent sickle that's shaped deprived of oxygen. A sickle-shaped red blood cells do not move through the body as rapidly as normal cells, thus cause more oxygen deficiency and damage of heart, lungs, and brain and other vital organs. In addition, the red blood cells tend to die and more rapidly and worsening the anemia still more. Sickle cell anemia is about anemia caused by variant from genetic instructions of for hemoglobin, and that protein have carries oxygen in the red blood cells. Individuals who are not sickle anemia inherited by the same from both parents and therefore homogeneous to the gene. Individuals who receive the allele from only one parent are heterogeneous, and heterozygotes generally will not show the full shown symptoms of sickle cell diseases. Heterogeneous persons by 50% chance passing a sickle cell elite a child. If a child later mates with another person who carry a sickle cell elite, then the statistical probability of 25% of the children will develop sickle cell anemia without advanced medical care. More individuals with HBS avils are unlikely to live more than a few years. Now it is also not important because complete case study is going to be here.
So it is, ma'am. And the one thing which I forget to tell you about all in my all videos, what you will get that many people demand me to just please give me important. The before chapters, with three chapters, they are much very important, each and every word from word to word. But now every chapter I will tell you what which portion you have to learn and which portion you have to read. Whatever portion you have to, I will going to read, only that much portion you have to study. Whatever I will left, you don't have need to see over that whatever content written over there. Okay, now just carry on. It is lactase deficiency. When Americans educators discovered then African Americans then school children were often did not drink milk, they assumed the lack of money. That this case study we already studied in first chapter, if you remember. Lack of education was very reason. This assumption provided the intents to establishing the school milk programs and just programs to aware that intents and establishment of school milk programs relevant around the country. However, this now appear that after infancy many people lack that enzyme lactase which is necessary for breaking down the sugar to milk. Lactose into enzyme lactase which is necessary to for breaking down the sugar to milk and enzyme lactase and it once repeated once again. Okay, sorry. Does a person without lactose and cannot digest milk properly and taking it may cause bloating, cramps, stomach gas, and diarrhea. A study conducted in Baltimore among 320 and 12 African Americans and 221 European Americans children in grade first and through 6 to American elementary schools and 85% of African American children and 17% of American European children were milk intolerant. More recent studies that indicate that lactose intolerance occurs frequently in adults in many parts of the world. The condition is common in Southeast and East Asia, India, and the Mediterranean, the Near East, South Africa, and Africa, and among native North and South Americans. The widespread incidence of lactose intolerance should not be surprised and that after infancy in mammals normally stop producing lactase. If lactose tolerance in adulthood in mammals is normal, then we need to understand many on other only humans, some human populations have the ability to make lactase in adulthood and digest lactose. Why would selection and the selection of favor this genetically ability to some population is not in the others? Here is also that some tell you about lactobacterium. This is not important for your syllabus. Only that you have to learn about example kit. You have to catch up an example as well only the case studies. Here is a picture. She is just making a milk for making an cow in Ukraine. That natural selection may favor production of enzymes lactase. A genetic way of milking the ST dairy population is far from the equator. The equator is far from the lactose enzyme. They are milk intolerant. The milk tolerance. Now, race and racism. For unfortunately, the internal variations in such as lactase deficiency has never been associated with the intergroup tensions, perhaps because such differences are not immediately obvious. And unfortunately, the same cannot be said for some more obvious external human differences, which is such as skin color. For as longer as such as you can remember, the countless and aggressive actions from fistfights to large-scale riots and civil wars have stemmed from the tensions and misunderstandings between the various groups commonly referred to many as races. Race has become a very common trend to the most of us take the concept of granted, not bothering to consult that doesn't mean we many talk about the human race, which means that all humans belong to the same breeding population. We are often to ask to check a box or identify a particular race. We discuss first how biologists just sometimes can the term race, then we turn to why most biological anthropologists now conclude that concept of race does not apply usefully to humans. We discuss how the racial classification and largely the social constructions have been used to justify discrimination, exploitation, and even the extermination of certain categories of people. Race on a construct in a biology. Biological variation is not uniformly distributed in many species, although all members of a species can potentially interbreed with another, and most mating take place within smaller and groups of breeding populations. Thus, the process of natural selection and genetic drift population inhabiting the different geographic regions will come to exhibit some differences in biological traits. When differences within the species become sufficiently noticeable, biologists may classify different populations into different varieties of races. If the race is understood as shorthand of classificative way, the biologists describe the slight populations that variants within a species, and the concept of race without probably not be controversial. Unfortunately, as applied to humans, social classification have often been the confounded in the racism and the belief that some races innately inferior to others. The misuse and misunderstanding of term race is associated with the racist thinking is one of the reasons that one biologist, anthropologist, other have suggested the term used not to be applied to the human biology differences. A second reason for applying racial disclassification of the human is the have exhibited the human interbreeding in different populations, which are not classifiable into discrete groups that can be defined in the terms of presence of absence presence or absence of particular biological traits. Therefore, may argue that the race is not scientifically useful for describing human biological variations. Now, here it is racial classification we have done about it. Now, applied anthropology, it is a complete case study. You don't need to read about it, that you will, better than this case studies you will get in next books. Here now, race and civilization. Here interrelationship between, in this paragraph here will tell you about relationship between the race and civilization, how they are interconnected. Many people hold the racist viewpoint that biological inferiority of certain groups, which they tell races, is reflected by the supposedly primitive quality of their cultures. They will argue that the developed nations are white and the underdeveloped nations are not. We put terms like white, which is used as racial categories in quotes to indicate the problematic nature of categories. But to make such an argument ignores makes us of history. Many of today's so-called underdeveloped nations, and primarily in Asia, Africa and South America, had developed the complex and so sophisticated civilization long before European nations expanded had acquired considerable power and advanced societies of the Shang dynasty in China and the Mayans in the Mesoamerica and the African empire of Ghana were all founded and developed in the North Palace. Now you have to left this. No, this is also part you have to study. Race conquest and role of infectious disease. There are those who would argue that European superiority accounted for their ability to colonize much of the world during last 200 years, but it now appears that Europeans were able to dominate at least partly most many of the native peoples and suspectively diseases introduced. Earlier we discussed that have continued. Earlier we discussed the continued and about the continued exposure to epidemics and infectious diseases that epidemics such as tuberculosis, measles can cause succeeding generations to acquire a genetic resistance to death from such diseases. Smallpox had a long history of Europe and Africa. Genetic resistance and eventually made in most survival childhood in case and disease. But in the New World, it was a quite another story. Courts and the conservative were inevitably added a smallpox in their attempt to defeat the Aztecs of Mexico. In 1520, a member of God's army unwittingly transmitted to smallpox to the natives. The disease spread capability and killing at least 50% of the population, so Aztecs were considerable disadvantage for their battling and especially Spanish. Outbreaks for smallpox repeatedly decimated many Native American population in North America as a century two later. In early 19th century, the massacre and the Nagasaki Indians with a population 30,000 and 9,000 respectively, but reduced to smallpox to a few hundred members only. But there that today because of coronavirus COVID-19, we are studying the same. So we can use at this example only you have just making the smallpox catch out outside, and you have to put the COVID-19. You can make it simple example. This is known as current example. You can use in your answer writing. Now, race and behavior. As an outthrow of earlier attempts to show that interior races have primitive cultures, some scholars have attempted to demonstrate behavior differences between the races, and one of the most active was presented by the psychologist J. Philip Rustom. This Rustom was a 1995 book, Race, Evolution, and Behavior, purports to demonstrate behavioral differences between the Negroid and the Casquid and the Monoloid races in terms of sexual practices, that parenting, social evidence, deviance, and the family structure, among others. Now, the data Rustom's used to support the argument almost are entirely to the modern nations, many with a history of racial discriminations, and South Africa, Japan, United States. But if genetically differences in behavior do exist among these three races and differences that have origins of exodus modern humans from Africa to more than 1 lakh years, those differences negroid. The race intelligence is not important. Here the migrants and immigrants, this is very important, but here not definition, this is complete case study you have to study. I think it's important here. The main chapter was completely on our side. I think that chapter is completed. We don't have to read, and but yeah, that's a very much important. Now you have to make note on this particular topic, so that will help you in every ending of the conclusion of every answer. The future of human variation in every physical or biological anthropological question, you will get help from this conclusion. You can join any notes of you have to make this note from this paragraph, and you can use with that notes in every conclusion of answer of every question of physical and biological anthropology. The fourth is future human variation. Laboratory fertilization, subsequent transplantation of embryo, and successful birth have been accomplished with the humans and non-humans. Cloning, the exact reproducing of the individual from cellular tissue, has been achieved with frogs, sheep, and other animals. Genetic and engineering, substitution of some genes from for others is increasing practice in non-human organisms. Stem cells that can be induced to grow into any tissue type. Clinical use. Which are the implications of such practices for genetic future of humans? It is interestingly to speculate the development of perfect human aside from serious ethical question to hold decide the perfect human should be like, and development might for long run to be detrimental of human species that perfectly suited to one physical or social environment may be totally unsuited for another. Now, in the long run, the perpetuation of genetic variability of probably more advantages than creation of a perfect and invariable human being. That in the event of dramatic changes in the world environment, absolute uniformity in the human species that might be evolutionary, did and such uniformity that might lead to the extinction of human species if the conditions favored genetic and cultural variations that no longer present in the species. Perhaps our best hope for maximizing our chances survival to tolerate and even encouraging the persistence of many aspects of human variation, both biological and cultural. Now, chapter is completed. Here is summary and review. I told you earlier in my video, the summary review don't need for from this chapter. But if you want to read, you can just take a screenshot and you can read, because it will not help. Because only from this chapter you have these remember you have to take out some examples and case studies. You have to note down example case study. Wherever is any important concept, I will told you. If you want, you can take a screenshot. But according to me, this is not important for you. Okay, so but this is completed your chapter. Please, if you like my video, please like, comment and subscribe my channel. Please share with your friends so that so many students can get benefited from this. And as I earlier told you that I will get improve my voice as well as mic, as I change mic. And now told me in the comment section that did you get find any improvements, and even though any problem and issues you are facing, you can just comment me. Thank you so much.